Hello, beautiful women. Tell me, do you feel sometimes like you are on the mouse wheel? You know, that busy mouse wheel where you feel like you're going and going, going, but you don't know where you're actually ending up. There's no purpose, there's no outcome, there's no road. Do you really struggle with not understanding or knowing how to prioritize? If you're doing work, you feel guilty that you're letting family or loved ones down. If you're with family, you feel guilty that you're letting your work down. Oh my gosh, the list is endless. And it's definitely something that we have experienced and talk a lot on a very regular basis with our clients. Ness, I would love to hand over to you because you've got the most kind of heart-wrenching feelings story around this every time I hear it. So I'm just going to hand over to you and share what was kind of a light bulb or defining moment for you when you realized, something needs to change.
Yeah. And look, I'm not proud of this story, but you're right.
Thank you for sharing it.
Yeah, it was definitely a move and a shaker for me. So I want to share it in the hope that it helps somebody else have a realization along the way too. So it's sort of like, we got to rewind the clock here a number of years to when I started my business. And so as a single woman, raising two kids, I think my two kids were in primary school when I started out. And I just had no freaking idea about what boundaries were and how to be present. And so I have in my home setup, I've got like a study nook, which is part of my living space. So no door to close as such. And that meant that I had pretty crap boundaries around work. So I would work into the nights, I'd work on weekends, I'd be half mothering, half working, not really doing either justice. And this one particular day in the school holidays, I remember sitting there tapping away at my computer, and my daughter, who was, I can't remember how old, 10 or something at the time, walked up to me and she's like, "Mummy, can I ask you something?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can ask me something." Still working. And she just said, "If I or Cameron, which is my son, or Nan died, would you take time off to go to our funeral?" Oh my God. I stopped working then, didn't I? And turned around and I'm like, "Of course I would, darling." And she's like, "Okay, what about if the cat died? Would you take time off?" And it was fascinating because her little brain was like, she was telling me, we don't feel important. And that really broke my heart. So it was a gift though, so early in my business, because my goodness, did I make changes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Every time it just hits me when I hear that, because I also wonder how many other people can relate to this. And maybe if your daughter or your son haven't actually said this to you, but that feeling might still be there. And we don't share this to make you feel more guilty or feel crap about things. Because look, Ness has built a very successful business since then, or businesses. So Ness, what did you do to change it? What did you do after that? What changed for you?
Yes.
What did you do differently?
Look, I really appreciated that she had the courage to say that, because it's a huge gift and a huge lesson to learn in the early days. And this is what I want other women to avoid learning, no matter where you are in your business, because I think it does ebb and flow. And at times you go crazy in the amount of workload that you do. But for me, the biggest change that I made then was, and I alluded to it earlier, I set some clear boundaries and I made sure that I was present. So the boundaries were around what time I finished work. So I had a cutoff time. Even though my computer was sort of part of the family room, living room, the computer got turned off at that cutoff time. And then when I had the kids here, because I shared care with their dad, so they were here every second week, I made it a priority to be present with them when they were here. So that could mean just sitting on the couch watching telly with them, or, going somewhere, or like engaging in a conversation face to face rather than being preoccupied with work, because you don't have to sit in front of a computer to be preoccupied with work.
Yes.
And so it was really that conscious awareness around, right now I'm a mum and my priority is my kids. and you know, in work time they understood that the priority was work. And
Yeah.
I think setting that up early on in business has really helped me. And Nikki, you and I now setting our own business and just deciding, you know, that we want to prioritize our lives in our business. I think the flexibility we've created is amazing, and I love that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's interesting, if you are watching or listening and you don't have kids, it plays out in other ways. It's so funny what you said around you don't have to be in front of the computer to be preoccupied by work. The amount of times, and sometimes still, you know, Jules will say, "Where are you?" Oh, I was just, yeah, I was at work, you know, in my head. I'm physically on the couch or at the dining table. So there's so much in what you've just said there, Ness, that we could really unpack. And I think, you know, again, it's about where does this play out in your life? And it is about, we always talk about prioritizing life and setting healthy boundaries. The thing that I would love for you to take away if you're watching this, or you are watching this because we're here, is that it's not about another time management tool. So it's not about finding another time management tool or necessarily doing anything different. It's about understanding what is your belief, or a key part of it initially is understanding what is your belief around time. So I want to say that again, and I want you to think about the answer. What do you believe about time right now? Do you believe that there's never enough time, that you won't be able to finish what you accomplish? Because in the example that Ness gave, it was a constant having to work. So there could have been, and you can tell me if we're on the right track, an underlying belief of I have to do it now. There's not going to be enough time. It has to be now because I can't fit it all in, which is really common. And again, that's when we fall into the busy trap. And I can see you're nodding, Ness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can put all the implementation tools in. And look, yes, we do need to do things in a different way, but that's not the starting point. And the reason is this. One of the most simplest, but not always the easiest ways to create more time is to have space in your day. So what I mean by that is we are often focusing, whether we realize it or not, on the past. So we're looking at the past, we're stuck in the past, we're kicking ourselves about past things that have happened, or wishing things were different, or just reflecting. Or we're focusing on the future, worrying about things that haven't happened yet. My gosh, I can put my hand up for that one. You know, pre-planning scenarios that are worst case scenarios that, again, might not happen. So we're spending our time in the past or in the future. And what happens then is we're missing out on the time in the present, in the moment. And that's mindfulness, that's present. Like Ness said, just sitting on the couch and watching a show with the kids is a stamp in time, and being aware of where is my mind. So when we find space, even 5 minutes, even 60 seconds, I used to do a 60-second meditation when I worked in corporate 3 times a day. It's 60 seconds of space. And I'm telling you, it gives a feeling of having more time. And all of this comes down to our beliefs, in other words, our thoughts, therefore our feelings around time, because we've got the same amount of time. It doesn't matter. Now, we could talk for hours. We could literally talk for hours around this. Ness, how would you wrap up if we were to say there's one key thing that you want the women watching this or people watching this to walk away with? What would that be? Because it's a pretty big topic we're covering in 10 minutes.
Yeah, it absolutely is. But you know what? I think what comes to mind as you ask me that question is some of the experiences our clients have had when they've had these realizations. And one in particular, and you alluded to this before, it's about identifying what works for you, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember we had a client that we were working with last year, and she was feeling bad because a Sunday night was the time that she did work. And she was beating herself up around, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be with my family. I shoulding all over ourselves, right? This is one of the things we talk about a lot. And when she thought about, you know, it's that how you think about time, what she realized was that the shoulds were about other people's observations and expectations about what you should be doing on a weekend. But for her, that was actually really productive and useful time. And it meant that she could be present with her family over the weekend, knowing she blocked a chunk of time out on a Sunday night to prep her up for the week. And seeing that realization in her shift and her give herself permission
Mm.
That just took so much weight around this heaviness of feeling like, oh, I'm not balancing everything, I'm not doing it right. So when we talk about, making choices and making decisions about how we use our time, I think it's really important for us to look at, it's got to work for us individually, and we can create businesses that work for us, and it could look different to the person who, the next businesswoman along the way, and that's okay.
Yeah, even in our business, we're business partners and we prioritize our life in different ways and have very different schedules. And I think that's so important. It's such an important point, Ness, around identifying what that is for you. And if that's the Sunday afternoon, if that's late starts, whatever it is. And this is what creates this shift in not being in the busy trap, because we feel like we're more in control when we have those moments of joy or micro moments or prioritizing life along with all the cool business stuff that comes along with it. Amazing. If you do want to go deeper into this, we have Strategy Day coming up on the 5th of April. And if 5th of April has already passed and you're watching this, reach out, because we have quarterly virtual strategy days. We will be going deep into how do you get out of the busy trap. So if anything you heard today, like, thinking I need that help, we're here for you. So simply just send us a DM wherever you're watching this. Or if you're on Insta, check out the link in the bio. We'd love to hear from you, because remember, as women in business, together we are smarter and stronger.
Sure.
Thank you so much for joining us.
See you later.